Wavect, the Web3 software company that understands what you want.
Hi everyone, welcome at Wavect. Today with Jamie Parmenter, who is the CEO of Real Nifty and an editor of Riedl chapters. I'm really pleased to have you here. Thank you, Jamie. It's a pleasure talking with you. And today we're going to talk about the future of Web3 communities. And yeah, feel free to introduce yourself a little bit. What are your passions? What are you passionate about? And yeah, also would love to know about Real Nifty and what's going on in your everyday life.
Fantastic. Thanks again for inviting me onto the show, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here. I guess I'll give your listeners a bit of an overview of who I am and what I do now. I actually started off in the music industry. So you speak about passion. That is basically one of my big passions in life. Since I was young, I've always been into music, and my career up until recently has always evolved around the music industry. So I've been in and out of radio stations working in a past life. I've been in media outlets in various different business modes. And that's basically what led me to starting Vinyl Chapters, which I started about 6 years ago now. So again, it just evolved from a passion of music and communities and seeing how I could access that and make something my own in that space. So what I did, I started taking photos of people holding up a record, and then they would tell me a little bit about why they chose that record. So it kind of started off with me hanging around outside record stores in the real world and just chasing down people when they left the store with a vinyl record. And asking them questions, and then this basically grew, and in the end I would actually get people submitting their own photos to me through the website I was building, which was Vinyl Chapters. And it grew into a lovely community with lots of music fans, and I started adding music reviews and interviews to the site, started adding a few writers to the team and starting to monetize it. And it was going really well. And there was a point in time where I decided to start writing a bit more about music and technology. And that's what ultimately led me towards the Web3 and NFTs and that whole space that's developed over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's been a very interesting journey for me. I mean, it started off with me purchasing my first NFT, which was obviously for me, my passion is music. So it was a music-based NFT. This was with Kings of Leon rock band, which actually came with a physical vinyl record. And I just loved the integration of the physical and digital. And it was very interesting to see how this community worked. So I started writing an article about it. So all the good points about it, all the some bad points. There was what NFTs are, what gas prices are, just for the community, so they could learn with me. And it went really well. But what really showed me the power of Web3 was how the communities could grow and get involved. Now, there was a couple of issues with this drop, because obviously it was the first of its kind back a couple of years ago. And one of the main issues was that the vinyl physical record didn't get delivered until 10 months after purchase of the NFT. Yeah, there's a lot of mistakes in that area. And also at one point, the company were actually trying to charge people outside of the US about $100 for delivery. So again, this is something that the community kicked up about. They was not happy with it. And surprisingly to me, they were listened to very quickly as well. So they dropped the price to delivery to $10. And it was astounding to me. I just saw this community really come together, and it just showed the power of Web3 communities to me. And that made me want to get more involved. So I put out this article, and it started getting picked up by a few outlets like the BBC website. I got invited onto a couple of radio stations to talk about Web3 and NFTs. And then I started building up my connections, and that's where I actually met the founder of Real Nifty, who had just founded the company. And again, we just got talking and realized we were both on the same wavelength when it came to NFTs and how we can combine the physical and digital, and how we could actually improve that usability of it. So that's basically what we've been developing over the last couple of years. and we started off as a agency, an NFT agency, where we would help companies and creatives and artists really build out their NFT ideas, help with the marketing, the web development, everything in those directions. And yeah, we still do that now, but we are also working towards a marketplace build that is really built around that physical and digital aspect. And that's hopefully being released in the next few months. And we're really looking forward to seeing how that goes and where the industry takes us next.
Me too. I think everyone. Awesome. Very inspiring story, Jamie. Thank you for sharing this. And you already talked a lot about communities in general, right? What actually makes a community for you? How would you describe it to someone who has never been in? Yeah, I think everyone knows to some extent what a community is, but how would you describe Web3 communities? Are they any different?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think it's probably best to sort of describe what the definition of a community is. So, what a definition of a community used to be was people with common interests that living in a particular area. So that's how I used to see it. But obviously, with the growth of the internet, which has been fantastic, and technology, is global now. You don't have to even be there in the same room with someone in your community. You can be speaking to someone halfway across the world and you can be in a community with them. It's been a fantastic transition. So for me, put simply now, is people with common interests that associate together, whether that be in real life or whether that be digitally. So, I mean, I feel that they have to have some common interests. So this is common whether it's in real life or Web3 or anywhere. It could be anything to do with, say, football or gaming or, I don't know, learning a language, music, and but it also covers that Web3 atmosphere as well. So for me, communities would meet in a certain place, whether it's in the real world or a digital world. And these days, especially in Web3, it can be places like the metaverse, or it can be places like virtual reality. Those obviously are still growing and still amending. And it's going to be interesting to see where they go, because obviously not everyone can have access to those at the moment. It's still a relatively small community in regards to the entire world. But it's growing, and it's going to be another way in the future where communities can really converse, they can build relationships, they can grow. Growth is definitely one of the biggest important things for me. It's a place where people can really evolve and learn and build those new ideas and new ideals. So it doesn't have to be Web3. There's a lot of similarities where it is, but I think it's more the technology has changed the way that communities come together. And I think that's one of the most important things for me. If I take you back to music again, I think because for me being of a certain age, I think the transition stage for me has been more important than anything else. Obviously, kids that are being born now, they're going to be born into Web3 in this whole decentralized world that's happening around us. But for me, I kind of grew up when the internet, I guess, was coming in. I was like a teenager, so it was completely changed. But that took a long time to actually develop into what it is today as well. So if we take communities from the music aspects, when I was at university, for example, I was a massive fan of a band called the Libertines. And they were huge in the UK. And because they were in this kind of transition stage as well, they started off as a band which used community aspects where they would actually go meet them in the real world. They'd hold parties after their gigs where people could come and join them. And again, it was a real sense of community. But then they started using technology to actually increase their engagement with fans. So this came about when they would use message boards to actually invite people to, say, a house gig, which would only be on in about an hour's time. So people would then rush to go to this house gig. And it was kind of a mix of different ways that they would actually invite people here. So there would be, they would create fanzines where it's obviously like a booklet of information about the band each month, which you could join for a price. And then if you were part of this fanzine, you could then actually gain access to special VIP gigs and win competitions, that kind of thing. And if you look at it from a Web3 respect, that was exactly what Web3 is starting to do now, and it's trying to link the physical and the digital and real life experiences. For example, you can buy an NFT, and if you have that NFT, then you would have access to, say, a VIP message board channel in Discord, or it could be access to a gig in the real world. So it's just been fantastic to see this collaboration with community and Web3, and how it's evolved from being completely in real life to now being digital and real life.
Awesome. Yeah, communities in general use a variety of different platforms and tools, right? Because you said people come together, right? Where do they come together, and how do they get there usually, right? How is that a process from, let's say, A to X at least, right? Not, yeah, would love to know.
Yeah, that's another great question. There is a lot of different places that people have started building these communities. And I think what actually was a very big catalyst was the pandemic a couple of years ago, which started. This basically started people trying to find other ways to actually build communities. They couldn't no longer go out in the real world. They couldn't go out in the real world and meet people there. They had to stay inside. So they had to find ways of technologically finding those communities. And the technology for communities online just blew up completely. Like, people needed that community, and companies realized, people realized, and were looking for ways for this to find this. And so I think one of the main catalysts that I saw is audio rooms. I thought that was a brilliant way to really bring people together. It meant you didn't need as big a bandwidth to have the video. I know some people aren't comfortable with video anyway, so it would be quite good just having their voice there. And one of the big platforms that actually came up around the pandemic was Clubhouse. Obviously, it's not as big now because a lot of different companies have actually basically copied them and made their own version. But at that time, it was amazing to see. And for me personally, I would go into Clubhouse and just like flit around all the different rooms. But what the rooms that really struck me were the Web3 rooms, and especially the ones with creatives involved. There was lots of artists out there that really, whether it's music or actual artwork, that really sort of joined together on a Clubhouse, and it was really fantastic to see. They couldn't go out, for example, and exhibit their paintings anymore. They had no way to make money at the moment. This is how they made money. And what I found in the Clubhouse rooms was this really powerful community aspect that they had formed. And through the power of Web3 and NFTs, they were able to continue creating. They were able to continue their passion and actually get paid for it. And all these artists would be supporting each other. They'd be buying each other's work. They would be promoting it on their own channels, so people would sell their artwork. And it was fantastic to see. So audio channels have been like a great community builder. And now obviously we have Twitter Spaces, which has been fantastic. We also have LinkedIn Live Audio, which is almost out of beta now. I think a few more people have started using it, and it's been fantastic to see. And yeah, I mean, even at Real Nifty, we try and host Twitter Spaces each week. We have a great marketing team, and one of our marketers, Molly, she holds a Women in Web3 chat every week to get people involved in that community. And it's just been fantastic to see all these little communities pop up. But I mean, for me, that's only like one of the areas where Web3 has flourished. And another one is in Discord. So Discord, for those of you that might not know, is kind of like an online message board that was originally built, I believe, for gamers to be able to chat and converse as they play their games and about that kind of thing. So Web3 has kind of almost been retrofitted into Discord, which you can kind of tell at times it's not the most easy platform to use. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have used it, and it can be very awkward. You have to do a lot of bits and pieces to actually get to the channels you want. I know people get really overwhelmed by the amount of channels that they have to keep going in and out of. So it's not the best thing at the moment, but if you can find those communities that welcome you, that you're really interested in, it's a great place to sort of make friends and build and just have those conversations that people might not be having in the real world. So yeah, Discord is another great platform. And then obviously, if we're speaking about Web3, you've got the metaverse and virtual reality and augmented reality, which is coming on. But for me at the moment, it's still got a way to go until we actually adopt it properly. And as we do start to adopt it more, I personally feel we need to make sure that we don't throw away the physical world. We can't just be stuck on a headset or in the metaverse for, say, 8 hours a day. We still need to be able to come back to the real world and actually associate with that. But the technology is absolutely amazing, and I really appreciate the people that build it and build these amazing worlds within there. And yeah, gradually those communities are going to grow, and they're going to be fantastic. I know that we got the Bored Apes that are building out their other side metaverse. I'm interested to see how that goes. And yeah, it's just a really interesting space to be a part of. I guess the other platforms that I think deserve a nice mention. We're going to see a rise of social media platforms that are actually decentralized and part of Web3. So owners would be able to actually make a lot more money than if they are, say, on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, where a company owns it and actually profits off any piece of content that you use. And then there's really exciting projects out there, like I'm not sure if you've heard of Adinverse. So Adinverse is actually, no, you haven't heard that. So Adinverse is actually run by the guy who created Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a American comedy, Rob McKenney, I believe his name is. So what it is, he's actually brought creators all into a community within a Discord. And what they actually do within this community is create characters. So they've got special creator rooms where they would actually all get together. They create characters that they can, for example, sell to TV series or sell the idea to other companies. And for every character that gets used elsewhere, the people that own that NFT are in that community actually profit from that. They'll get a percentage of how much money that character makes. So again, it's just these communities that are actually coming together, having fun, and actually, in some instances, able to make money from them.
Awesome. Yeah, a super interesting time to be alive, right? Many things are happening right now. Many things are being built. And as you said, people recognize some weaknesses in existing tools, right? UX is a huge issue in the whole Web3 space. And community building is definitely one of them, right?
Yeah.
You talked about Discord not being ideal for building communities, or at least being in multiple communities. At least that's what I recognize for myself, having 20 servers or something like that on the side, and you just think, mute, 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 please let me alone. Yeah. So where do you see that kind of tools, or in general, where do you think are we heading? Because it's obviously an issue, right? Otherwise, not so many people wouldn't complain about it. I don't think Discord is now making a 360 degree shift towards Web3 at the moment, at least not that I'm aware of. So where do you see the future of community building?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, like you say, Discord really doesn't suit everyone. It's not it was kind of like a stopgap in my mind, because there wasn't a platform that Web3 could actually use when it first started getting a bit more popular. And so yeah, Discord kind of popped up and everyone started using that. And like you say, I don't feel that the company really wants to retrofit it so it's usable with just Web3. They want to continue how they are. So in the long term, this is going to have to be sorted for sure. And I think the problem is that it's just not usable. And like a lot of everything in Web3 at the moment, the usability really is an issue. And that's why it hasn't been mass adopted yet. The technology just hasn't got to that stage where we can make sure that everyone can mass adopt it. Setting up a crypto wallet, for example, is quite difficult for some people. Being able to even buy crypto is difficult for some people. And again, this is the problems with some communities of Web3. It's just an overload of information, especially like you said, if you've got 10, 20 channels in Discord, you can't keep up with everything. So I think people just need to really choose those communities that they really want to be a part of, and really sort of focus on those. But more and more communities are going to be built online. So I think there needs to be a social platform, or a Web3 specific platform, where these can actually develop in a way that is a lot easier for people to build their communities. What that's going to take the form of, I don't know. I mean, this is completely wide open. It could be a platform similar to, say, Discord. Some of the other social channels we have at the moment are trying to introduce NFTs and Web3 into their own channels. Whether or not that's going to work, I don't know. And then obviously you have the rise, like I just mentioned earlier, of the metaverse and VR. These are going to be spaces that communities are going to be able to grow into as well. But again, how much time people are going to spend in those communities is open for interpretation. But yeah, I think like they need to actually come together with more of that physical aspect in my mind, because you can't be all the time online, and people want to have that real life experience. So I think there's going to be some integration in that respect, whether that's going to be, say, more augmented reality types of technology that are going to happen. Again, this could be in 10 years time. But for me, the main fact is that it needs to get easier for people to use. Until it gets easier for people to use, there isn't going to be the mass adoption and the community building that we all want to see. And they need these platforms need to keep the community engaged, because otherwise the community will start breaking apart. They have to keep it interesting. They have to keep people engaged. They have to offer community something for being part of the community. It's all these kind of elements that need to be improved, and it's really going to change how the world views communities. And I'm very excited to see the direction it actually takes next.
Awesome. Yeah. As said, super interesting time to be alive. And yeah, thank you for that insight, Jamie. Looking at that, I'm a little bit, I'm a software developer. I don't know all the tools that currently popping up. So for me, it would be interesting if there are already some competitive platforms that might at least have the chance, let's say, to get up to Discord levels, let's say.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there is a few platforms out there that are going to grow in that direction. I know there is quite a few Web3 social media platforms that are actually trying to grow, but whether the world is ready for that yet, I don't know. If we look at the launch of the Coinbase NFT marketplace, they actually tried to add in social media elements to that marketplace for the first time, and it didn't kind of go the way they wanted, I guess. Obviously, with the market downturn, there probably wasn't as much interest as we wanted. But the thing with the social media elements was like people could now comment on people's NFTs. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of backlash on this. There were some really bad negative comments. People started getting abused. I mean, this is the negative part of social media and how it can react. I mean, for me personally, the Web3 space when it comes to communities is usually quite nice. Everyone feels like they're part of this community. Whereas if you look at traditional social media, if people can almost like feel bullied on there, and it's been a horrible atmosphere for some people in the past to be a part of. So I think there's that wariness that people are feeling when it comes to Web3 platforms. And I think the good thing about them is we're building them from scratch, and we've had these experiences with other platforms before, so we can actually build in mechanisms that actually protect us against that. And I'm sure you've seen in the Web3 communities, everyone is very inclusive. Everyone comes from a lot of different backgrounds, so we have a lot of different opinions and a lot of different attitudes. And what we need to do is just all basically come together and make sure that the platforms grow in the right direction and at the right speed. I mean, there's no rush at the moment. We're in a build mode. The market is down. Everyone's building. So this is the time that we need to make sure that these platforms that are growing are are going to actually benefit all of us in the whole, and actually work better than what Discord does at the moment. I mean, if we're looking at other platforms that are potentially coming up, you've got more of a blog platform called Mirror.xyz.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been fantastic. The creators make money. It's decentralized. It has its own coin and everything. It's a really great platform to actually for people to expel their knowledge, to actually grow the communities in that respect. It's not like a quick, type of message and then get instant feedback like Discord is. But again, you can grow a community around your ideas and your takes, and people will be able to comment on that. So that's one platform that, other than Discord, that I've been enjoying recently. And there's another one, I can't remember the name of it now. You might have to put it in the show notes. But basically, it's Showcase. It's called Showcase. So basically, this is aiming to be a Web3 digital social media platform. I think that's one of the longest running ones that I've actually seen. And again, they're building every day to add new features onto their social platform. But like I said, we just need to make sure we build in the right way, and we need to make sure that it's all inclusive, and make sure that there's none of this baiting and bullying that is going to be hard to stop. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, social media is in general a really can be a really dark place to be in if you got some things wrong. Do you have 3 key takeaways for the audience watching or listening to this, which you want them to remember? Because you said a lot of different and really important and interesting things, and just to make it easier to remember would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of my main points would be when you're getting involved with any community, whether it's in real life or Web3 or anywhere, just be true to yourself. Be true to your interests when you're looking to join and start that community. It's something that you're going to need, and that's why you're there in the first place. You're there to associate with like-minded people with like-minded opinions. So I think that'll be my first point. The second would probably be know that you can influence the direction of Web3 communities and relish in that power. As a community, you're there to help the community grow. You're there to build that community. And like I said, with my experience right from the beginning of Web3 with the Kings of Leon drop, I saw the community really take hold of what they wanted and drive it in the direction they wanted, which was fantastic. So know that you can influence your communities, and education would be my last one. To actually grow these communities, we need to educate people on what Web3 is and how you can be a part of it. Obviously, as we've been discussing, there are barriers to entry at the moment, but the more people talk about it and the more people invite people into these communities, the stronger they're going to get, and the more people are going to understand. So those would be my 3 points.
100%. Awesome. Hey, thank you, Jamie, for being here. It's really a pleasure, and was just an amazing episode. Yeah. Thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Wavect, the Web3 software company that understands what you want.